The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Week 10 Rankings Debate. And before we get into everything, as always, if you hit the description of the video, you can find the time codes of when we talk about each of the positions. And you can find the links to all the other shows, all the audio podcasts, and other things too, like, hey, here are the rankings. You can just click the rankings and follow along. They'll be updated all the way up until Sunday when we are live, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Myself, Garion, Thorne, and guess what, Garion?
What?
Cust is going to be in studio.
I knew this, and I'm excited.
You should be.
It has been...
We have nowhere to sit him.
No, but 3 years ago we figured that out, and I think we will find a creative solution to that once again.
What do you think he's going to wear? Do you think he'll wear his, like, Aladdin attire again?
I really hope so.
Just dresses like McLovin from Superbad? It's fantastic.
I hope there's a vest involved. That would be my main hope for the day.
I agree. Before we bring Jake in, I do want to let everyone know that if you want to get into a draw for 20 DK dollars, please give the episode a like, smash that like button. Even if you don't want to enter the draw, smash the like button. That's step one. Step two is leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section. And I need to let you know, actually, let me see here. What's the best way to phrase this? Which ranking of mine this week triggers you the most? You tell me which one sets you off, gets you all fired up, along with your DK handle. Boom, you're in a draw for 20 DK dollars. Jake, what's going on, my man?
What's going on? Hey, election day.
Did you vote for Kodos or Kang?
I actually wrote in Kodos.
Kodos, Kang, or did you vote for Ross Perot? Go ahead. Throw your vote away.
Exactly.
It's a great shirt. How long did you?
Thank you.
Did you just get it for today? Have you had it for a while?
No, I've worn this for you one time before.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like you think I remember things. I don't remember anything. So someone asked me this the other day. I remember things for weeks at a time. I can remember 1 week. That's all the data I can carry in my head.
For the job you do, that's probably the proper allotment of time.
I remember the rankings that I come up with this morning, and I remember I hate Mark Ingram. That's really about the extent of my knowledge.
The ones where I didn't vote for Kodos, I just wrote in Nixon's head.
Oh, there we go. You can't make Nixon's head president again, though. It'll get you. We've seen that documentary from the future come back.
I'm a Jack Johnson man myself.
Oh. I do have I was going to say a somber note, but it's not a somber note. It's hopefully an uplifting note. I got a message today from Brad Chamberlain, at Brad Chamberlain on Twitter. He tweeted to me, today marks his 10th chemo treatment and a year battling cancer. Big thanks to everyone for their support during this difficult time. Also thanks to the PME, that's me, and the boys, that'd be you guys, for helping me through the 4-hour treatments. I just want to say, man, like, we're all rooting for you over here. Keep strong, keep on top of this, and please let us know how you're doing. He's at Chamberlain Brad on Twitter if you want to send him a positive note. We're going to try to keep the laughs coming. I'm sorry we give you such terrible advice, so hopefully your teams are doing okay and getting you through this, but we can provide a few laughs for you along the way. Maybe Gary and Jake will get into it again for old time's sake, just for some laughs. And also, this one, this stuff comes in threes because I just found out some stuff about like my family as it pertains to this. But our friend Danielle, she just tweeted this out and posted it on Instagram. She's a Sportsnet anchor at City Mayo. She has a big write-up on there. She found out she had cervical cancer.
Yeah.
She's 29, 30 maybe at most. We went to college with her. We're friends with her. It's a gigantic bummer. She was shopping for wedding dresses when she found out, which is the worst. But she's keeping super positive outlook on it. She went and had surgery at the beginning of November. She just released it publicly. But she has a few things that she released that I think everyone should take in mind, that all women over 21 should go get a screening immediately because you can catch this at the very beginning. And she also pointed out that like for the 7th grade and up, you can get HPV vaccines that can basically cure you right away to make sure that you never get this. And if you go get the vaccine regardless around that time, you can knock it out like 90% worldwide just by everyone getting those vaccines. So she has a huge write-up at City Mayo on Twitter. You can go check all that out and see what she's written up about it and sort of the different causes you can help out, the support system that you can put in place and donate some money. I'm going to do that myself. So I recommend that everyone out there go do that as well. And everyone at the Pat Mayo Experience, we're thinking of everyone out there. So best of luck moving forward. We know you're going to kill us. Fuck cancer. All right? Let's get into the rankings. Running backs to start. Guess who's
Hold on, that's the one time I approved that. by the way.
I'm sorry.
No, I approve it in that situation.
That
I
is
do.
justified swearing, yeah.
That's a
Okay.
justified.
Although we know Danielle's very strong, and I think it's very apt and fitting for her to use the situation to try to benefit people. It's a very Danielle thing to do. So again, our best goes to Danielle, and we know she's gonna.
Yeah, we'll
be
see her
great.
back on TV soon.
Exactly.
Right,
Month away.
Month away. Let's hope. At least New Year. We'll see her back out there. So, running back rankings, probably in. I have Sony Michel is probably playing.
That was the storyline today. Apparently,
I have Chris Thompson is probably playing. We'll see with him.
We'll
He's a bit
see.
iffy. He's in the rankings right now. Those can always be adjusted. Gio Bernard, Leonard Fournette, Darren Sproles, Peyton Barber, and Robert Turbin. I have all as playing. As out, I have Le'Veon Bell. Probably not going to play Thursday night. I'm just guessing. Ronald Jones, Chris Ivory, and Chris Carson I currently have outside of the rankings. Not great reports from him with this hip injury and thigh injury and groin injury. It just seems like a lot of injuries.
I feel like as soon as a coach comes out post game and says, by the way, he's not going to practice a lot this week. That's not saying anything definitive about his status for week 10, but he's not going to practice at all. That's probably not great.
Jake, who do you think I have at number one?
Mark Ingram.
No, that would be false. Even Fantasy Pros hates Mark Ingram this week. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's gone full Mark Ingram on everyone. The Mark Ingram that I know, he's doing it this year.
It's true.
This is class. This is vintage Mark Ingram.
This is the narrative you have presented many a time, which is
Not only
the first
is-
chance he gets the opportunity to shine, he does. Everyone gets worried about Kamara, and he's done absolutely nothing since.
And now people are playing Mark Ingram, but not only is he doing nothing and hurting your fantasy team, he's hurting all the Alvin Kamara fantasy teams by playing like 45% of the snaps and doing nothing.
He was okay this week.
Kamara was good, okay this week, but I mean, he was the number one running back every time he was getting 80% of the snaps.
Yes, this is true. He was
And now-
setting NFL records.
And now it's week to week.
Well,
You don't need
And
that.
I think he's got a BFF, by the way.
Oh, who?
Adrian Peterson.
Really?
Adrian Peterson, every single time we're ready to get sucked in, like we create this narrative last year of where if he gets 20 plus touches, you don't start him the next week. That happened at the beginning of the season. And then it comes out, he's like, oh my God, he's even better than he was last year. And he's amazing in the Redskins. He's a freaking cyborg. And then back-to-back weeks of 20 touches and 100 yards, and he looks amazing again. And he's facing the Falcons. And then because he's Adrian Peterson. I don't know how he's not in worse place with Mark Ingram with you.
It is sort of similar to Jake's Matt Breida narrative, which is it's the week you think Adrian Peterson's going to do well, the week that it seems like he's in a can't-miss spot, he has missed every single time.
You know who has accurately still predicted him every week is Cust.
He was
Cust said, don't play
scary-
Adrian Peterson this week.
Scary accurate about that Atlanta-Washington game on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It basically went exactly as he said it would.
Fun Cust story, and I'll bring this up on the show as we talk to him tomorrow, along with Feinberg. But I finally convinced like 10 of my friends to get on DraftKings. We're all playing a contest against each other. So Cust is in it and bragging about his lineup at like 3:30 Eastern time about how he's like, I should have put this in the Millionaire Maker, all this stuff. And like the 10 people who played, he came like ninth.
Seems about right.
It's fantastic.
Seems about
He
right.
ran out of players after the first games
I was
ended.
gonna say, great. Not only is it generally a bad idea to start talking about how great your lineups are at 3:30, especially so when the Chargers, the Rams, and the Saints have still yet to play.
Yeah, he had no one from those games.
Seems bad.
Hurt his lineup just
Yeah,
a little bit.
I would say so.
So the rankings at the very top, Todd Gurley actually comes in at number one. Probably no surprise with that
What
one.
an underdog story.
I know. Kareem Hunt, Gordon, Barkley, Connor, McCaffrey, Kamara, Zeke, Mixon, James White. That goes in to David Johnson, Tariq Cohen. I think he bounces back in this spot. Sony Michel, the Duke Johnson at number 14. Leonard Fournette, Deion Lewis, Mike Davis, Tevin Coleman, Adrian Peterson, and Nick Chubb. I actually am concerned about Adrian Peterson with you, Jake, and not only because he's old and somewhat decrepit from week to week. We're not quite sure which week that is. They're down 3-0 linemen now, and I think that was really one of the key components to him being so awful last week.
But because he's old, you can't take his stuff.
Yeah, he's
so
too
he'll still
old.
get carries. That's the important thing to take away here.
Yeah, but so the interesting thing is it's not just the offensive line, too. Brad Evans was on the pod today, and he brought up the fact that if you look at the defense for the Buccaneers, they've actually been strong against the run straight up the middle. They struggle with the running. If you look at all the running backs and what they've done this season and where they've done it, it's in space and in the passing game. It's the regular. So if you take only standard runs from under center between the tackles, all that, they're actually inside the top 10.
Ooh, that's even worse news. But if so if Thompson
So
plays,
start Adrian Peterson.
yeah, exactly.
I guess so.
So if Chris Thompson plays, would you then rank Thompson above Adrian Peterson?
In a full point PPR, I would.
I just worry about re-aggravation of any sort of rib injury from him.
Right.
He was dealing with the knee anyway, and like Bibbs has been involved in these games. I know he scored a touchdown last week. He touched the ball 4 times. Like it seems like even if it's not working with Adrian Peterson, they're like pot committed to just give him the ball and have it not work.
So I'm gonna like it to Elijah McGuire last week, where if the team wasn't ready, then why would they force the issue? Like the fact is they don't really need Elijah McGuire. The Jets aren't doing anything. And we were all talking about, the field could be a concern, especially somebody coming off the IR, and they're just here's your touches. You're ready to get involved. I think kind of see it the same way as the Redskins have Bibbs, who's been performing decently, and you say, well, do you really need to force Chris Thompson back? And then if he's out there, I think they feel comfortable with him. It's similar, actually, even to Dalvin Cook. Like if you really didn't want him to play, you had the bye coming up. Obviously, he's ready. You get the rush shaken off. So I think that's where I look at it, where you could go down that road. Like if they're starting him, they feel okay.
I would say, too, I mean, there are legitimate concerns here, and I would say that just with the viability of Tampa Bay's offense, there's a chance that we see a similar narrative this week where, Tampa just gets up early and instantly puts Adrian Peterson into a negative script. We see a lot of Chris Thompson. And I would say in that regard, there's sort of a class of running back you have behind Peterson where
that you like more?
Yeah, Nick Chubb in particular at 20.
Nick Chubb is the poor man's Adrian Peterson.
But I would argue that Adrian Peterson is the poor man's Nick Chubb at this point.
Okay.
I mean, Nick Chubb, since that trade went down, has the highest team total share of carries of any running back, 85%. So even with Duke Johnson's sort of rehabilitation in that offense, it didn't take away the snaps from Chubb. He worked the same basic 50% load that he's worked every single week, or that that RB1 for the Browns was working the entirety of the season. Still got his 20 carries. It's a great matchup against Atlanta. He's not going to do anything in the passing game, but I just think of those two guys, I would trust Nick Chubb more this week.
Okay, so Tevin Coleman or Nick Chubb, Jake?
Nick Chubb barely, but I like Tevin Coleman more than actually. My issue is going to be I'm not that comfortable with Leonard Fournette coming off the first game, and with TJ Yeldon looking fine early this year. I like the fact is Tevin Coleman, Nick Chubb, and he's way down there. We haven't even talked about him yet, but I'd even start Jordan Howard before I started Leonard Fournette this week.
Howard was another one of those guys I think is
against the Lions' run defense.
I feel like once we start getting into this got to play Jordan Howard mode, that he's back to 3 points.
That's fair. I mean, that's always the risk with Jordan Howard. He's incredibly touchdown dependent. But I would say even Aaron Jones is in a really good spot this week.
Breida's in a good spot.
See, Breida, I would actually have lower. I'm not really feeling Breida this week.
I mean, I guess he's coming into the week healthy, so it probably means he's going to
suck.
Well,
I mean, there's that. There's
right.
Honestly, at this point, the hasn't missed scenario that Jake has pointed out that he's healthy. That means he's going to suck.
Hey, hold on, Garion. Somebody told me on Twitter that was very lazy analysis. Come on.
You know what? It works. If it works, it works. That is the point. But Breida, as you pointed out, we all kind of got into this weird place in week 4 when CJ Beathard comes in as the starting quarterback, and we instantly decided that he was going to continue his just overwhelming love of throwing to running backs, and that really hasn't happened. Or if it has, it's been the fullback. It's been Mostert.
I believe his name is pronounced.
Not even try it.
Jersgurgurrik.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's
right.
how it's spelled.
But he's got 2 passes in the last 5 weeks. He's now in a 3-headed running back by committee.
I guess that's sort of the question as it pertains to Breida, though. Is he in a committee?
I think so.
Because it seemed like they had no interest, even like when Breida was out and they played Mostert, that Alfred Morris wasn't doing anything.
He got 7 carries each of the last 2 games. He's getting goal line work. I mean, to be fair, I don't want to say that Breida has not gotten any high leverage touches, even though he's only gotten 28 carries, I think, the last 2 weeks. But he's had a goal line or, inside the 5-yard line touch in each of those games. But every time he's failed to score, Alfred Morris has come in and gotten the next carry. It's not a situation, I think, that's hyper conducive to fantasy success. I don't think you can have any of them inside the top 24.
I don't know about that because now we're getting into, like you said, I have Jordan Howard at 25. I just don't like Jordan Howard, so that's me. Maybe that's one is that the one that has triggered you?
Nah.
Okay. Like Marlon Mack is down there. I just don't know what to do with Marlon Mack this week.
See, I would just rather play Marlon Mack than Matt Breida at this point.
So would I.
Okay.
It's a tough matchup, but I just think the volume is going to be there.
Let's swing back to Fournette for a second before we get into these guys in the 20. So no one has a problem with Duke Johnson at number 14 in PPR?
It's a great matchup.
A little high, but I'm not going to argue it much. I mean, it's the Atlanta pass defense, running back pass defense. So no, I don't care that much.
Should Mike Davis be higher? If it's going to be, if I have Carson as listed as out, so that assumes he doesn't
No,
play.
because it's flipping. I almost wanted to curse there, Pat. It's
close.
freaking Pete. It's Pete Carroll, man. He comes out of last week, and I'm not. Look, this is not me arguing for Rashad Penny because I'm a Penny truther. It's just Pete Carroll doesn't know what he's doing by the drive every game. He comes out, uses Penny 3 or 4 times on the opening drive. Carson gets hurt, out for the rest of the game, and then Penny sees like 2 touches the rest of the game. Like, he makes no sense week to week. So yes, Mike Davis conceivably should be higher if Carson's out, but I don't trust Pete Carroll enough to put him any higher.
Also, I mean, that was a very interesting game script. Like, Seattle ran 75 plays in that game, which is not something I think they're going to do on a weekly basis.
They might
They
against the
tend to
Rams.
Maybe, but they tend to be a slower paced team, and this would speak to Mike Davis possibly getting a large amount of carries because, they run the football, they work the clock, et cetera, et cetera. But even just specific to the Chargers defense, they play such a exaggerated shell like cover 2 when they get up, and that was basically the entirety of the second half of that game. Like, they were begging Seattle to just dump the ball off to the running back. And I know he had a ton of targets in that contest. I think that was really an aberration.
Mike Davis had 7 catches.
But I'm saying I think that was an aberration of the script, and I think it was an aberration of just really how aggressively the Chargers just put everyone 10 yards back of the line of scrimmage when they're up by 2 touchdowns.
That's fair. I think that if we're treating this on a volume basis as it pertains to running backs.
Sure, I'm fine with him at 17. I just don't know if he'd
that's
go
why.
higher.
That's fair. So Nick Chubb goes up. Peterson goes down. Coleman stays where he is. Like, how far up am I moving Nick Chubb? 20 to 19?
I just think it would be above Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
I mean, you could make the case over Tevin Coleman, but
I'm starting him over Mike Davis.
I see. I actually think there's enough volume with Mike Davis, especially with the way that this game script can break down for the Browns, and the fact that Chubb's not going to catch any passes. Like, he's going to get his 16 to 20 carries, and you hope that he finds the end zone. And he's been doing that, so he's been good. But the moment he doesn't score a touchdown, his floor isn't there. I think that Davis still plays, even if he plays 60% of the Seattle offensive snaps against the Rams,
2 to 3 targets.
He'll probably end up with more than that, to be perfectly honest with you. He'll probably get, let's say, 3 to 5 catches.
Okay.
And it might only be for 15 yards, but you add in that full point PPR, that's worth a lot. He probably gets 16 to 20 carries too. And he's the one who's going to touch it near the goal line, not Penny. Probably.
Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's what we're coming down to. It's
Maybe
probably.
Brown is now going to get goal line carries. Who knows with that team?
I mean, cutting Brandon Marshall really opened up a lot. David Moore should have had like 8 touchdowns in that game and dropped them all. So Breida down, like Breida and Jones, I think are very similar, if nothing else.
Aaron Jones, though.
I would say Jones is. I don't want to make this as simple as one is in a 3 running back system and one is in a 2 running back system.
But it's not a 3 running back system in San Francisco because they play with a fullback on the field a lot with a running back.
I mean, that might then mean it's a 4 running back system if you're going to say that.
Who is the other guy? You have Brady, you have Morris, and you have
Mustard.
He's dead.
Is he dead?
He's on the IR. He's done.
I didn't even realize
he
that.
broke his arm. He's done. He's out of town.
Did you not see his arm?
I apologize.
His arm went the other. His arm went this.
I did not see that.
His arm went.
He second elbow. He has a second elbow now.
Well, that's fair. That's bad, but still.
They slowed it down on the replay. It looked really terrible.
I feel like I didn't watch.
Oh, with the worst heads up ever. They come back from the replay. It's like, look away if you're grossed out. Boom, replay.
Boom, it's right on.
Oh, I saw your tweet about that. I didn't watch any of that game, but
Probably smart move. It was actually like the most fun, worst game of the year. Because it just had a lot of Rocket Richard going on. I was all for that.
yeah,
The more you can use Richard, the better.
that fourth quarter though was probably the definition of garbage time.
DeAndre Washington started getting carries in that
Good
game.
for him. Good for him.
Who looked significantly better than Doug the Pug Martin.
Anyway, I would say Aaron Jones is just. I mean, since they traded Tom
Aaron
Montgomery,
Jones.
we're only dealing with a 2-game sample here, but still, he's played 58% of the snaps and 61% of the snaps. He's. It's a smaller sample than maybe some of the best running backs in football, but among running backs with 50 carries, he still leads the league in yards per carry. I just
And it's
don't
Miami
see.
versus the Giants.
And it's also it's the Dolphins who have given up 170 yards on average their last 3 games. It's just a really good. And if the Packers have played a game in the last month where you would at least be able to say with some degree of confidence that they should be winning and be in a Aaron Jones positive script by the second half, it would have to be the Dolphins.
I still think if one of them scores a touchdown, it's Breida. I feel like they don't love giving the ball to Aaron Jones in close.
They're rarely in close.
But they love throwing. They love throwing so much.
Or Jamal Williams.
Or Jamal Williams.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. I don't know. I think it might be splitting hairs, but
I'm going to stick with Breida in the circumstance, but I will move Peterson down. So I'll move Peterson behind Jones, and you think that Mac should be up? How far up should Mac be?
I would move Mac all the way up to. I trust him more. Even if this isn't as bad as matchup as people think, Jacksonville's been middle of the road against the run because they've been actually one of the most mediocre defenses on the year. So I would go Mac at this point up by Dion Lewis. I'd sandwich him between Lewis and Davis, and I would put Lewis in front of Fournette, by the way.
See, we'll get back to Fournette here in a second. I still like Davis more than I like Mac. The problem is with Mac, he's looked great in these 2 games, but the Colts have won by I think 15 and 30 in those 2 games.
they've been very.
This isn't gonna, like, as bad as Jacksonville's been. I don't think this is gonna be a blowout. I think it's gonna be a somewhat competitive game.
Sure, but the Colts at least rectify that situation a little bit, just in the sense that they have by far the highest paced offense in football. They're running roughly 70 plays per game. So even if we are in a script where Andrew Luck is going to throw the ball 45 times, it still leaves 25 rushing downs on the table. And it seems like at this point, I would say 80 to 85% of those are going to go to Marlon Mack. And I mean, we're talking about goal line carries and the possibility of goal line carries. Jacksonville's got a good defense, sure, but you look at the class of offense that Indianapolis has kind of put themselves with so far this season. They're averaging 4.1 red zone possessions per game. That only trails New Orleans, the Rams, and Kansas City. Like, they've been really, really good on offense. So I think that I would agree with Jake. I think that's a proper place to put him, is up above Mike Davis.
Okay, I'm still going to play Mike Davis in the circumstance. So I'll move him to one spot behind. I like Mike Davis. I will move him to behind Mike Davis at number 18. I'll move Peterson down. So who do I move Peterson behind? Do I move him behind Jordan Howard, or do I move him behind Rocket Richard?
Oh, no, I'd still play him in front of Mark Ingram.
Yeah, but Mark Ingram is just in worse place. This is where Fantasy Pros have. Fantasy Pros has him one spot behind Aaron Jones. That's where I put him in.
Fair enough.
I think Adrian Peterson and Jordan Howard are a coin flip.
All right, what about Rocket Richard and Adrian Peterson?
I'd still go Adrian Peterson.
Okay, so I'll move him to number 20. I guess that would make him number 25, in between Howard and Rocket Richard. What does that do to Chris Thompson? I have Chris Thompson at number 29. Do I have to move him up then?
I would say I'd probably rather play Thompson if he's active than Richard.
No, that's ludicrous. You're traveling at ludicrous speed.
I thought that was going to go somewhere else.
No.
Okay.
But Richard's going to have like 9 catches. Every week. Just pencil them in. Here's your 10 targets, Rocket Richard. And they're all 3 feet away from you. It's such a good floor. Eventually, he's going to score a touchdown, too. Yeah, boom, 20 points.
It might have to happen. That's fair.
They're 10-point dogs at home, and every time they get behind in these games, they just do dump-offs to Richard. It's their only play.
So moving Adrian Peterson down doesn't necessarily mean you have to move Chris Thompson up.
I think that Washington can score on Tampa. I'm just going to throw that out there.
But that doesn't mean it has to go through the running backs.
It doesn't, but I guess if I'm going to move Peterson down, I was giving him basically a 60-40 split in touches in this, and monopolizing all the goal line touches that they ever got down there, which Thompson probably wouldn't get. But if you think this is a script, now this is only a 1-point spread.
Yeah.
So Vegas thinks this game's going to be close. If you think that Tampa can jump out to an early lead, then you switch the script into Chris Thompson. But if Washington scores a... Let me throw out this very unbelievable scenario that on the first play of the game, Ryan the Fitzmagic throws a pick 6. And all of a sudden, Washington's up 7-0.
Sure.
And they just turn around. What are they going to do? They're going to, even if it's not working, they're going to try to run and run and run and run. So I guess it depends on how you think this game's going to go. I think it's going to be...
But see, that's the thing. Like, even if you do, to that point, that's why I'm saying we can move Adrian Peterson down and not have to move Chris Thompson up, because even if it's 15 carries, if it's just the Adrian Peterson we've seen, and then people don't account for the offensive line being nothing left, and the fact that Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as we just talked about, is strong against between the tackle runs, He could have 15 carries, but he might only get 50 yards. Then who the heck cares?
Yeah, I feel like there's always touchdown equity with him, though.
Yeah.
They still have to get.
That's true, but he's going to get his shot if they get down there.
Yes.
Whether he converts or not, I don't know.
They might be just passing enough.
Maybe. I suppose that's on the table. I feel like if they have a play from inside the 3-yard line, their first move is just turn around and give it to AB.
You know, here's the problem: is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not only are terrible against the pass, they have one of the worst slot corner matchups, and actually best for the opponents. Worst production is in trying to stop people up there with like the PJ Williams of the Saints, and the fact that this is a Maurice Harris game. This is a although the Jordan Reed hasn't been doing a ton this year, but it should be a game where maybe they just do pass when they're in the red zone still, unless they get to like the 3-yard line.
All right.
Got to commend the Redskins. They figured out how to keep Jordan Reed healthy.
Yeah.
Never give him the ball.
Don't use him.
They try to use him. He just doesn't do anything. Leonard Fournette. I have Fournette ranked at number 15 here. That's in between Duke Johnson and Deion Lewis for full point PPR. You guys think that he should be lower?
I don't.
Yes.
I think he's fine. I understand the risk that's attached to it. I understand how well Yeldon has played. But I would just think that, much like we've talked about already on this show with Elijah McGuire and players of that sense.
Lizzie McGuire.
Excuse me, Lizzie McGuire. I think he's if they're playing him, he's healthy. I think it, especially with Jacksonville, considering they've had this problem. I think it's already 3 times in his very, very short career where they brought him back too soon. He's re-aggravated injury and had to leave a game early. They've probably taken all the proper parameters to make sure he's 100%, and I don't think they would be playing him if he wasn't 100%. So I think you're looking at somewhere between 17 to 20 touches.
So I agree that they wouldn't. This is like the Dalvin Cook thing. Like they won't bring him back, having dealt with all of this. But I'm going to take a step further, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think you're right. They're not bringing him back unless he's 100% because they don't want to risk it again. But they're going to bring him back and say, we don't need to give it to him 17, 20, 25 times a game because that's what's led to these injuries in the past. TJ Yeldon looked great in the time, except for the bad matchup, which is understandable because TJ Yeldon isn't Leonard Fournette, but he looked great for the most part filling in. They brought in Carlos Hyde as now you have 3 options here. Just give him the ball 15 times, 13, 15 times. Maybe he chips in another 2 or 3 receive, but we don't need to give him that volume if we really have playoff aspirations, if we really want to keep Leonard Fournette healthy. And that's my concern because if you look at Leonard Fournette for his career, he is a volume runner. We know that. This guy doesn't average over 4 yards per carry. So that's where I'm going with it. Now, like I said, I could be wrong, but that's my thinking in this situation and why I would rank him lower.
That would make the most sense logically. I would agree with that.
And I think this kind of plays into a part of why we'll continue to rank him at number 15 is I don't think the Jags are that smart. I think that they play – it's weird. Like, Yeldon has just statistically proven to be as efficient as Leonard Fournette. The offense doesn't
if not more.
If not more. And the offense doesn't take a step back. He is a much better pass catcher than Leonard Fournette, or at least he's used as a pass catcher, unlike Leonard Fournette is. Fournette can be great in the passing game. They just don't use him that way. But their offense changes when TJ Yeldon is in the game. They seem, although it's more dynamic when TJ Yeldon plays because they take shots down the field, they run swing passes, they don't just turn around and hand the ball off to Leonard Fournette every time. It gives them a different dimension. However, I think they need to go back to giving the ball to Leonard Fournette 25 times and keeping the defense off the field, keeping them fresh. Like, that's how they were successful last year. And I think the coaching staff is going to look at that and say, you know what? This is how we played when we were awesome. Let's go back to doing that. And what's Fournette miss now? 7 weeks?
Yeah.
You got to think that he's healthy. And it goes back to that Dalvin Cook thing that Jake talked about earlier, that I should have seen it coming, and I didn't. And I feel like an idiot for it, that if they were going to run him out there, it wasn't going to be for 8 plays.
Yeah.
He was healthy, and he looked healthy. He looked great. And I think that Fournette, if he comes back and he's healthy, he could look great too.
I would say, though, if we want to take
and I don't think Carlos Hyde does anything.
Okay, and that's kind of the interesting point here, because if we look at the Jaguars coaching situation as maybe a bunch of simpletons.
I don't even think that. I think you get married to this has worked. This is the This is the football philosophy that we want to play.
Okay,
we want to play great D. We want to run the rock.
Maybe not dumb, but I just mean simple philosophies that sometimes we attribute to not even just NFL coaches, but NFL front offices and how these systems work. There is also the argument that even though it didn't seem like he was at all part of their game plan in London, we've invested in bringing in a guy like I just when you
so your question
why
is,
trade
why
for someone if
for
you're not
him?
going to use them?
I get that part of it, but I just don't see it.
Fair.
You got Fournette coming back. He's the guy that you spent all the draft capital on. You've been successful when he's been your running back. If he's healthy, you turn around and you give it to him.
That's fair.
And that's why I think that
Look,
happens.
I'm not standing for Hyde. I don't think Hyde is all that good, to be honest. But
I'm just standing for logic, and hopefully the Jaguars have some.
it's tough with
See,
football teams.
I'm gonna bet against that. Football teams have bad logic. The ones that have good logic are very clear, and they tend to win.
Go Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson, Big Pete. So the other ones, Tariq Cohen, I have at 12. Is that too high? Because I think this is a perfect spot for him against Detroit.
Mildly.
Look,
I think the only risk that you run with is the one that you painted the scenario for, like Ryan Fitzpatrick earlier. You know, maybe bad Stafford shows up again this week with another 10 sacks, and all of a sudden they're running down the clock, and the Bears are going Jordan Howard heavy.
yeah, I mean, it's Detroit's incredibly slow on offense. So the negative side here would just be that we're in a game where maybe each team only gets 55 to 60 plays. If we are in a true 50-50 split in that backfield, which generally by touches, it has been about that, unless there's been some sort of crazy script in one direction or the other.
It feels like in close games, Cohen gets the ball more.
Look, of all these running backs, and maybe if we see this another game, we can kind of put Duke Johnson in this class, but there's obviously a group of 4 or 5 running backs of this archetype. He is, I would say, the lone guy who it seems like the team really does try to get him the ball 10 to 12 times per game. Not sort of your Rocket Richard.
Yeah, hey,
He happens to catch 10 passes a game.
We're down by 25 points. Here, have the ball.
Exactly, but literally going into the week, these are 10 to 12 plays we are going to run to make sure Tariq Cohen gets the ball in space. So he's game plan for, and you're starting him. So really,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter where he is.
But especially in PPR leagues, in standard, you can have a real conversation about whether you want to start him or not. But as long as you don't think that the Bears blow out the Lions, then Cohen's going to be better than Howard.
Yeah.
Is the way that I would look at it. And I don't think that the Bears blow out the Lions. That's why I have Jordan Howard down in the rankings. If we go to the very bottom here, your main man, Kenyon Drake, should be theoretically a good game, just
You would
like
think
last
so.
week.
Well, I mean, look,
How did no one do anything in that game?
because apparently I overestimated how terrible both those offenses were. But yes, I don't think Kenyon Drake will go the entirety of the second half in a game where the Dolphins should be losing by double-digit points in the second half. It's tough. I think I don't know if you could rank him anywhere else.
There's just no trust.
There's
There's no trust with him. I think that he's in a good spot, but
Yes.
that doesn't mean anything.
There's too
with
many
the
variables
Dolphins.
in that offense. And I would say there's a lot of guys in this class, like even someone like Austin Eckler. Like, this hypothetically seems like a good
12%
spot.
of snap share. That's weird last week,
It
isn't
was
it?
it was the lowest he'd had all season. He only got 9 snaps. But like I talked about, that entire Seattle Los Angeles game was very strange. I mean, Seattle ran 75 plays. The Chargers ran 50. And having a pick six,
And the Chargers only complete passes of 80 yards, so
that also seems to be
it's tough
true.
to run a lot of plays when you're just constantly throwing for long touchdowns.
But they're not necessarily a team that ends up towards the bottom of the pack in terms of time of possession, but they only had the ball for 24 minutes. So I think you could chalk a lot of the Eckler stuff up to just complete weird game script. Like, I still think he relies a lot on efficiency, but this is an offense that is quite good. So it's not the worst situation for him to be in. It's a great matchup against Oakland. I think he's a solid flex play this week. But yeah, I can't argue to have him any higher.
Jake, would you play Eckler or would you play Shady?
Oh my God.
I'd play Eckler. I really would. Even if Eckler plays 15% of the snaps, I think I'd rather play Eckler.
I was about to say maybe because it's PPR. I can't, because the week before last, LaShawn McCoy's day that's all. Actually, the 2 games before that were all passing. I mean, especially the week before that, it was a passing. What do you have? 80 yards receiving. So for all we're talking about for the upside of Austin Eckler, he still only had double-digit touches. 2 or 3 games this year? I'll take LaShawn McCoy's 10 rushes for 30 yards, but then potential for like 60 in the passing game. Like, I think that's really what you're looking at here, because he's facing the Jets. They're both good they're both terrific matchups. We saw what Mostert was doing to the Raiders before he got hurt. But again, I'm going to go with volume, and LaShawn McCoy to me has the same upside as Eckler does in the passing game.
Yeah, I don't trust the Bills' offense to do anything. I just
Of course
don't.
not.
And
But
even last week, down by so much, they couldn't get him the ball, and Chris Ivory didn't even play in the second half.
But Josh Allen should be back.
That's a real. Is he going to be back though?
I don't know. As long as it's not Peterman.
It's probably going to be Peterman.
And that's the thing. It's
All
like,
right. If it's Peterman, then I'm going Eckler.
is it like honest question, because
I think Josh Allen might even hurt LaShawn McCoy because he might run a bunch.
this is the thing.
No.
How much better is their offense? I know it's the worst of all time
I'm
with
gonna say
Peterman, but it
with
was
Josh
still
Allen,
trending in a bad direction with Josh Allen.
Exponentially better with Josh Allen.
Whew.
They
You
get
saw EJ Manuel's little Instagram post, right?
I did see that.
Ej Manuel. What a ride we've been on with Ej. So Raza brought this up on the waiver wire show, filling in for Meany. Excellent job for a guy that doesn't play season long, talking about season long. It was a really cool dynamic to have, hear him talk about players because he's only ever assessing it on a weekly basis because of DFS, and then like him thinking out loud how this would work the rest of the season was pretty cool. So I go back and check that out if you want some different analysis that you don't normally get on certain players. But he's like, the best move that's happened to Josh Allen is him not playing. It makes him seem so good
It really does.
because all the other
really
rookies
does.
suck.
Wait. Oh, hold it. You're stealing my thing. I told you that back at the beginning of the year. I said the reason they didn't start Josh Allen week 1 is because they knew that if he struggled, it's going to struggle as a rookie. That's definite. It was going to happen. But you're going to get people booing and what. But if he replaces Peterman, it's like you're still not as bad as Peterman. So Matt, no matter how much he struggles, you're not as bad as Peterman. I said that from day one.
It's okay.
Number one, I've already told you I don't remember anything more than 7 days at a time.
That's true.
2, you can't have credit for every take in the book, Jake. You just can't have it.
Also, I
I
feel
don't
like
have
that's
credit for every take, but for my takes.
It's like the sincerest form of flattery. If Twitter has taught me anything over the past couple weeks, it's that everyone steals every take in fantasy football, and that everyone is terrible, and that how could everyone come up with these same philosophies? Because, you know, there's only so many stats and so many games to watch.
Well, and Gary, everybody should listen to everybody's else's podcast.
Gotta watch
every single
all
day.
the ESPN shows and all the NFL.com shows. Really gotta just knock them all out and make sure you come with original content.
Lizzie or Crowell? I like Thin Lizzie.
I think it's a Crowell week.
It seems
Yeah,
like
I
a
think
Crowell
so.
week, but I feel like this is actually going to be a split like Powell and Crowell
Sure,
was.
I would agree with that.
It's going to depend on Crowell breaking big ones or scoring
Right, it
goal
should have
line
been a Crowell
touchdowns.
week last week.
It should have been, but I will say that Crowell played the highest percentage of his snaps in the first half, where I don't even think I saw him on the field in the second half. I think they should be winning this game. I don't think there's many situations you can walk into a week and tell the Jets that they're probably the favorite, but
They're 8-point favorites,
that
apparently.
seems crazy.
Did
But
you watch that entire game, Gary?
I did. I really did.
Some guy got really Twitter triggered with me that Ulrich tweeted out just some sort of slam on Darn Sanchez, which is what we're calling him now. He's no longer Safe Space Sam. He got too triggered by that name. So he's just saying.
So he changed his identity
He's
to Mark
Darn
Sanchez?
Sanchez. He's got a butt fumble coming up here in the very near future. But it was just like ragging on him, like joking about how terrible he is. He's like, are you even watching the game? It's clearly the center's fault that he's no good. And I just kept tweeting the triggered grief back at him. It's fantastic. What a loser. Just being like so sensitive.
Yeah.
Over Safe Space Sam. Or the Sanchez. Sanchez? Just Sanchez.
Sanchez.
Just Sanchez. He's going
Who
down
are we
that path.
talking about?
Darm Sanchez? He starts
Yeah.
a quarterback for the New York Jets. Sanchez.
Oh, okay.
I compared him to Achilles Smith on last weekend. On last week's spread show. That finally got Tim triggered enough that he lost it.
Ooh.
So the whole point of the spread show now is just to try to trigger Tim enough about how terrible Darnold is until he like loses his mind and he's like, he's better than Brady. Which is, I think, a direct quote from him last week.
Again, the move is going to be in 2 weeks. Actually, if they lose this game, Todd Bowles will be fired.
No.
No. And then once he's fired, whoever the new head coach is will be the man who will lead Sam Darnold to glory.
Well, Tim told us, he really shouldn't tell us these aspects of his personal life. He said he was talking to his dad about how terrible the Jets are being run. And Tim's dad told him, like, well, you should apply for the job then. Basically,
I would watch
quit
that.
your whining, just deal with it.
I would watch that.
Tim's
team.
dad also Dolphins fan.
Ugh. So he's angry at the world.
He's just angry at the world. All right, so the rest of the guys down here, is Peyton Barber too low at 35? Because I feel like he's not good when Fitzpatrick starts.
That's been the script so far.
He's just not that good.
That's
period.
also a
Yeah,
good point.
Just
yeah.
one problem. He's not any good.
Your finger paintings suck.
20-year anniversary today of the Waterboy.
That's Happy Gilmore, though.
Yeah, I know, but still, just have
in,
Adam
just
Sandler
in,
on
just
the
in
brain.
general? All right. Start an Eagles running back. I'll take Smallwood.
I don't think he can.
People are like gung-ho for Josh Adams rest of the season. But here's a fun fact. Darren Sproles is coming back this week now, too.
Let's not even talk about the Darren Sproles aspect yet.
But he goes down.
Let's save that for the trump card, really. How have people not learned yet? I don't get it. I just don't. It really makes me question humanity. How do people not understand this Eagles backfield yet? Oh, he led the team in carries, Jake. He led the team in carries.
Oh, you know what's going to be the best thing in the world? Just remember this conversation. So in 2019, when the Eagles signed Le'Veon Bell and he's still only getting 55% of the touches, we could go down this road again.
But guys, he's Le'Veon Bell.
Rank the Detroit running backs. I'll go Garion, Theo, Blunt. And I don't love any one of them.
That's the way to go.
Theo really put a damper on Garion's potential receiving upside.
We knew that was going to happen. Yeah, Patricia's coming from the Belichick school. Immediately, boom, back to normal.
And people were very quick to be like, oh, Golden Tate has a 27% target share. That's all those other receivers. Now it's like, yeah.
And then the Lions were like, here's the thing. We're just going to be terrible and not complete any passes.
Well,
and be sacked every time.
A lot of sacks.
11 sacks, was it? 10 sacks?
10 sacks.
10
sacks?
10 sacks.
Mike Zimmer talked about how he changed up his scheming basically last week. The Lions were not prepared at all. Any sleeper running backs? Because the only one I can really see popping off is Kiz Rogers. If they used some Sean Wilson last week, which is kind of surprising, but Jones is likely to sit. Barber is dealing with an ankle injury that there's a path where if they just pass the entire game, that Kiz can play like 40% of the snaps and pick up like 5 catches.
Possibly. I'd go back. It has nothing to do with last week's game, but because of the matchup, you can go back to Ito Smith.
Yeah. Oh, Judge Ito. Will he sentence your team to fantasy victory?
He just might. Yeah, that is.
I mentioned it before. Jamal Williams. Look, it's down to 2 running backs. You mentioned he's getting the goal line touches at most of the time, and maybe he gets one.
If the Jags keep this close, Hines could be in for a lot of work through the air. I think.
If the Jags somehow get up.
Yeah. The Jags tend to beat the crap out of the Colts. Tennessee beats the crap out of the Jags beat the crap out of the Colts, and the Texans just spin in circles in the backfield.
Well, who do the Colts beat up on?
I feel like they used to just beat the Texans, but the Texans beat them earlier this year, so maybe everything's just thrown out of whack. The Colts just seem to do really well outside of the division.
Yeah.
Maybe they always beat up Tennessee. I can't remember. I'll look into the flow chart later. Wide receivers. Guys I have in Allen Robinson and Ryan Grant. That's not for sure by any means, but I've ranked them in the rankings out. AJ Green, Jamison Crowder, Torrey Smith. Geronimo Allison's actually been placed on IR, so he's done for the season. Tywan Taylor's probably going to go to IR as well with that foot injury. It did not look good on Monday night. And Paul Richardson was placed on injured reserve, so he is finito for the season. Number 1 in the ranks. Antonio Brown, Julio, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams. I have Tyler Boyd at number 5. And my only thing that I'll say on this is I think he gets extra coverage, and I think long-term that is bad for him against the Saints team. I'm not going to sweat it because he's going to have double-digit targets.
There's one really bad scenario on top of that. Okay. You're right. The bad scenario, and hopefully maybe somebody can clear this up in practice reports for us. If not, we're going to have to watch the game and see what happens. But if they move him outside, bad news.
Not great, Bob, indeed. However, I think if I set the over-under in this game of 12.5 targets for Tyler Boyd, I'd probably take the over.
Even if you took the over, if he's outside and facing Lattimore for most of the game, he's not going to be a wide receiver 1.
I think I would take that volume and the way that they use him in the red zone.
He's definitely starting for you. There's no way I'm putting him as a wide receiver 1. If that ends up being the scenario, that's the only scenario. If they keep him in the slot, I don't even care if Lattimore drops down to the slot a couple times in that game. Hey, remember, Lattimore will shadow, but he'll move around. He came off Julio Jones to cover Calvin Ridley in that game where Calvin Ridley was destroying them. So he'll move around. But all that being said, as long as Tyler Boyd's in the slot, that's the most important part.
Do you think even if they do move him to the outside, let's say that maybe he only plays 40% of his routes outside? I don't think he'd be exclusively moved out of the slot, right?
No, but it's again, this is going to come down to a lot of what they do, how they treat this. I mean, because John Ross is playing outside. I think it really comes down to the Erickson Malone and what they do with that. But
who do you think it is? Who do you think the other guy is?
I think it's Erickson.
I think it's Malone.
Erickson.
Really? Sam Malone.
I think it's Erickson.
Well, that's the good news. is because I think Josh Malone needs to play outside, which would keep Tyler Boyd in the slot.
Yeah, Erickson definitely has the
Does
look.
he have slot vibes to you?
He has the look of a slot receiver.
I don't know. He's fundamentally sound.
Oh, he's got great.
Punts.
He's got great fundamentals, does he?
He's not fast, but he's quick.
Does
you know
he
what
grind?
I mean?
Is he a
Oh,
grinder?
he's a grinder.
He studies the playbook.
Yeah, he
does
does
he?
study the playbook.
Is he a real coach's son?
Oh,
Is that what
yep.
he is?
I think both. I think he had two dads, and they were both coaches.
Oh, was he also a college quarterback?
He was.
Wait. Is his real name David Eckstein?
You got it.
We got it. Oh, we've unlocked the riddle. So the rest of the rankings, I have Beckham, Keenan, Woods, Tyree, Cooper Kupp at 10, Evans, Edelman, Cooks, Juju. Not a great matchup for one of Juju or Brown. Probably is not going to have the greatest game against Carolina, but you're starting them anyway. Marv, Corey Davis, and a really nice spot against the Patriots. Jarvis, who sucks, but what are you going to do? Alshon and Ty are in not great spots, but you're starting them. I have Gordon at 19 and Marquez Valdez-Scantling at 21.
Yeah.
And then
Fair spot.
I'll keep rolling. Tyrell the Gazelle, 22. Golden Tate, we'll see how he does. I'm slotting him in at number 23. Sterling Shepard against the Niners at 24. Funchess Sanu, Kirk Galladay, Calvin Ridley, Didi Westbrook, Dante Moncrief, Deshaun Jackson. Now we're into the range where we can start having real discussions.
Yeah.
Kirk or Fitzgerald for you?
I think
It's
it'd
back
be
to Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitz.
I'm going to take Christian Kirk.
Or healthy. This is interesting. His health is sort of like the Bills quarterback situation. He looked so bad and so unhealthy that just him moving at maybe even 70% seems so amazing over the last couple weeks. I just think Fitz is still, even when he was really bad, and he was really bad outside of week 1, the last couple weeks, I think it's been 3 weeks, he's led the team in targets. I just think it's still Fitz. He's still, between the two in the red zone too, he's still going to be the number one option.
Christian Kirk's getting some red zone looks as well. So let's not take that away. The one thing that I'll say is the A-dot on Kirk is if they're going to take
it's massive, sure.
If they're going to take a shot, they're taking it with Chad Williams or they're taking it with Christian Kirk. And I just think in this game script against Kansas City that they're going to be throwing a ton and they might get some soft coverage. That'll take the guy who's the bigger play threat to outscore. And listen, I don't hate Fitz. I have Fitz at, what do I have, 34.
No, and actually now that, and I'm thinking about it too, the best corner for the Browns is Fuller in the slot.
It's true. I just
now we're getting this all jumbled.
Oh yeah, wait. It's Kansas City.
Kansas City is playing.
But Fuller is that cornerback. Yes.
Sorry.
I would just think that even as bad as the Chiefs' defense has been in the past, and probably continues to be, when it comes to Arizona and trusting Arizona, I just have such little regard for this offense in general, and their ability to do really anything. Like I would say that to expect them to score more than 20 points in this game, even against the Chiefs, is lofty. So I would just, if in a good spot, I would bank on the guy I trust more, and I just trust Fitzgerald more.
We saw what happened when you got rid of the coaches in Cleveland, and we got Byron Leftwich taking over. I mean, look, use your players the best way you should. I mean, maybe that changes a lot.
Maybe.
I really feel like Rosen and the Cardinals turned a corner against San Francisco. Maybe it's because they were playing San Francisco, but that second half, they were good. And they were fired up. Fitz was all over Rosen the entire time.
It was San Francisco. It was the first game this season they've gained 300 yards.
I know,
but
they looked like a real offense.
It was a cake matchup. It was a cake matchup.
But so was this.
So is this.
No, I know. That's where I'm going with it is, to your point, that let them get into a flow. They have the extra time off. They've been able to gel to what Leftwich wants to do. Hopefully, like Kitchens, he uses his brain a little bit to use his players in better ways, mixes up the playbook a little, and they come out, and now you've got that flow going, another good matchup, and things start to turn the corner, as you said. It's still going to obviously hinge on Josh Rosen, but Josh Rosen shown flashes so far, even at his worst games. He's shown the fact that he can still hit some of those tight windows. And again, it's a soft matchup this week.
Does have resting Eli face, though.
Yeah, but he's not Sanchez, so he's pretty good.
He's not. Look, I like Rosen.
He does.
Not that it matters.
But also, one second. Kitchens, by the way, sounds like a really pathetic clown.
His first name is Freddie, too. He's a grown man who goes by Freddie.
Hi, I'm Freddie Kitchens.
Hey,
Hi.
Freddie Mitchell was one of the best dressed dudes at all time in football. So come on.
Freddie Mitchell popped up on Twitter over the weekend. Fred X, the people's champ.
Yeah.
Because people at the bar thought he was T.O. They took pictures with him.
Oh. That's tough. That's a tough one.
All right, pick a Jags receiver. I'll go Didi.
Dante Moncrief, easy.
I don't know if that's easy.
It's not
It is.
easy.
Look,
Moncrief. I think Moncrief is the answer, but it's not easy.
no. Well, this is why it's easy for me. Like the only thing that we're getting down to now with Moncrief is health. Moncrief from day one when they brought him in always had what this team needs to be their number one. They don't have. He's still not. They don't have a true number one. But he's got the ability, the skill set. What he brings to the team is what they could use as a number one. Didi is going to be Didi, and Didi is just going to be your volume Jarvis Landry type of wide receiver. Moncrief is finally starting to take over, especially now Keelan Cole's been kicked all the way back to number 4, battling for DJ Chark. So that's why I say it's easy. I understand what you're saying because it's still the Jaguars wide receivers, but I think it cleared up before the bye.
Chark attack! Here he comes.
Charknado.
It's funny because this is way inside football, but that was what they did at Ole Miss because you had to feed Moncrief.
I thought they did that with the Gator, the chomp.
I think it's all appropriated. It's a giant circle.
That's like everybody doing the stupid Atlanta, Kansas City cheat. Like everybody
Like
does
me.
that.
Yeah, who would do that?
No one would ever do that on the Pat Mayo experience. It's the most infectious chant in all of sports.
No, it's not.
It really is. You hear one person doing the chop, and you're like, whoa. Then like 3 people are going, whoa.
Well, that's the magic number. You need at least 3 other people in the room to do it, so you're like, mob mentality.
So you have the one person does it, he does it twice, and like the other 2 people from the back, they start doing it, and then like by the 5th, everyone's doing it. Because everyone's just like,
know.
you just get
I think the
you
ole.
No, you become like the Manchurian candidate. It just clicks on in people's minds. And maybe it's a Canadian thing, just because everyone has such fond memories of the World Series against the Braves.
That is true.
That was their first exposure to the chop.
So do I.
And then it was a sad chop.
Yeah. I like Didi more than I like Moncrief. I have them back-to-back in the rankings. I think they could both. I think 2 of the Jags receivers have good weeks against the Colts. I think it happens to be Didi and Moncrief. That would be my take. Deshaun Jackson, Chris Godwin, or Hump Daddy? I'll take D-Jax. Just because of the big play upside.
And it's, the thing is Godwin's still out snapping him, but Humphreys is out snapping
both of them. Yeah.
But that's I don't want it to do that. We've done this before with Humphreys, just last year.
It has to be a good slot matchup. It does. He's thrived in 2 very good matchups the last couple of weeks.
And he should thrive in this matchup against the Redskins.
I don't know if is that their weakest spot. Look, they just traded for Clinton Dixon. That secondary is already pretty strong.
Do we think
I said that last week, and they
got annihilated.
37 points.
Tim was
the Falcons, though.
It's funny. Tim was all in and like Washington's secondary is putrid. They're gonna get lit up, and both you and I were like, it's actually pretty good. Turns out Cusp was right.
I'm looking right now. Yeah, this Moreau is actually the highest rated of the 3 by Pro Football Focus.
He's quite good.
I think Fitz just liked throwing to Hump Daddy. I thought he was a
Jameis
Jameis
also
guy.
Seems to like throwing to Jackson.
I likes throwing to OJ Howard.
He does love throwing to OJ Howard. I just don't think that you can go wrong. I mean, you can go wrong. But taking pieces of the Tampa passing game is a good move. They throw a ton.
Yeah.
And Fitz will try to get them the ball, regardless of whether they're covered or not.
So this is like the rich man's version of the Jaguars, is what you're telling us?
A little bit, yeah.
Seems like it. Oh, I will say, forgot we kind of breezed over the 20s. I do have one problem in your 20s.
Did I have Sanu ahead of Ridley?
No, not a big Funchess guy this week.
I just like Funchess. Funchess is good.
I just feel like his numbers have gone down considerably
when Greg Olsen came back.
Since Greg Olsen came back, and also look, I don't know when people's trade deadline is in their league. If you want to trade for Devin Funchess right now, do that because his schedule is.
Let me ask you this: our trade deadline in our keeper league.
Do you have Devin Funchess?
I have 8th round keeper Devin Funchess.
I'm currently
in first.
I've got 2 cell phones on the go in terms of my trade options right now. We'll talk later.
Listen,
But
I don't need much because my team is. I won last week for the first time all year.
Oh, that's my condolences.
I know. I really wanted to have the winless season.
Yeah.
To basically ensure. I mean, if I win another game now, I don't get the most ballots for next year. I need them ballots, Gary. I need them. I need to have the first pick.
It's glad to know tanking is alive and well in some facets.
In some facets, hey, it's a proven strategy in our keeper league. You tank and then you go win the next year.
Yeah,
it works.
But Funchess this week again, great schedule coming up, but this is the hardest remaining matchup he has on the slate. And the Steelers, granted, some of this has been matchup based. They've played the Ravens and the Browns in 2 of the last 3 games, but they've only allowed 5 yards per attempt in the passing game the last 3 weeks. They've been really, really good on defense. All their cornerbacks have played well. This is probably a matchup with Joe Hayden. Hayden's been easily their best cornerback all season long.
The one saving grace with Funchess that he has
Red zone targets.
It's the red zone targets and it's the size advantage that he has on a lot of these corners.
Sure.
And saying the problem is Cam doesn't tend to throw all that much, but this is a game where he should have to throw a lot.
That's
but
true.
it's also matchup-wise, the Steelers have actually been one of the most susceptible. I can't even say the word now. Susceptible to slot wide receivers. I think DJ Moore bounces back in this game.
It would make a lot of sense after people really wanted DJ Moore to happen last week.
That is the DFS philosophy. I would just say to your point, too, I mean, we can talk about Funchess and the fact that I believe he's one of 8 receivers who inside the 10-yard line has a team target share of over 38% of the red zone targets. That's great by itself, but he's only got like 5 of them. He's only got 9 red zone targets for the year. It's not like this is an offense that throws the ball a lot. Now, I'm not saying they're going to take triple reverses to the end zone 33 yards out every single week, but Curtis Samuel has rushing touchdowns in 2 consecutive games. It's very clear they want to run the football in the red zone. So I'm just not quite as high on Funchess as you were this week.
I just like maybe it's because he's on my team. I rank him highly because I want him to have good weeks, although I don't want him to have
don't want him to have good weeks, exactly.
I have Corey Davis too. If Corey Davis interests you. He loves targets.
Does love targets, that's true.
Pick a Bears receiver. I'll go with Gabriel. Yeah. And this is assuming Robinson plays.
Oh, if Robinson plays, I would just have Robinson.
Gabriel had his fun. He was Adam Humphries. That's what he was earlier this year.
I think that Gabriel might need Allen Robinson to play for him to be any good.
Well, look, Robinson would probably draw Slay, correct?
Should.
I guess the way, in theory, you would want to attack the Lions is in the slot, but I would still take Allen Robinson.
Okay, pick a Seattle receiver and don't fight about it.
It's Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, I got Baldwin at 35.
Look, again.
One of them's going to do something.
I laughed so much. I missed that first drive of the game, and when I checked my phone to see who actually did score for them, and it was Jaron Brown, that is the most Seattle thing. That really encapsulates this offense in general. There's no way to tell who's going to catch the touchdown in this offense. There's 6 or 7 guys who could do it. Any of them might do it.
And they all could. They're going to get their chances to catch it.
And it'll probably be a tight end.
But it will be not the one we think of.
It'll be not the one you think of. It's lunacy.
It's definitely what. I started Ed Dixon in one league. It was not him.
They had some guy, he's number 46, totally spacing on what his name was. He played.
That was Will Disley, wasn't it?
No. He plays like half full. He plays basically like H-back for Seattle, and you never see him, but you saw him the week before Ed Dixon came back in the London game, I think it was. And it could be that guy. He could catch touchdowns.
This is the new Insta team. Although, because they've all at least caught a touchdown to this point, I guess they're not still Insta Seahawks.
The Bills are the most Insta team.
Kroom!
Well, Charles Clay is out this week. You wait for Kroom and Logan Thomas. It's the week. What? It's happening.
Logan Thomas.
What number is he?
40s. He's 40s. He's in the 40s. He's probably listed as a fullback.
There's nobody on offense in the 40s, at least that's active right now.
Oh. Now I gotta go look this up. It was against... All right,
You're talking about 30. Are you talking about Trey Madden, 38?
Yeah, that's exactly who I'm talking about.
Okay.
He's either a really fat running back or he's a fullback.
He's their fullback. No, he's their fullback.
So he'll probably get a touchdown this week.
It could happen.
You know who you can play? I'm convinced of it.
Okay.
Brandon LaFell Sexwell.
Sure.
You can play him.
He's their top wide receiver.
90% of the
snaps. Yeah, he's their guy. The Dallas might trade like a second for Sexwell.
I will say, not that it went exceedingly well, but to Dallas's credit, they decided to just shove targets down his throat.
Is that the best game Amari Cooper's gonna have this year? Because it could be.
He's got a nice schedule, to be fair. He's got a very wide receiver friendly schedule coming up. I'm not saying he's getting 4 red zone targets a game.
I have him at 37. Too high, too low. Just right.
That's about right. You could maybe argue that it'd be higher. He had a 25% target share. But again, we're talking about an offense.
Too low.
I just don't think he's...
Look, number one receivers have been exploiting.
I don't want to do it.
I know you don't want to do it, but the fact is, if we're going to argue for Corey Davis and his volume, and the fact that the Cowboys are shoving it down the throat of Amari Cooper, and if you've seen the 2 quarterbacks, neither have looked good this year. But if you're going to tell me which one I trust to actually get those targets to the wide receiver, it's been Dak Prescott this year. I mean, Mariota missed Corey Davis by 17 yards over his head on that one play where he was wide open.
That was such a terrible game.
This is a much better matchup for Corey Davis this week. I will say that.
Yes, it is. It is.
It's a better matchup, but I hate to say it. I trust Dak more than I trust Mariota.
Yeah. I mean, look, we do get in a situation. You're right that it's similar because much like Corey Davis's incredible target share, like you look at, I think coming into last week in terms of targets per route run, he was second to only Julio Jones. But Julio had like 80 targets to his 55 because the Titans just don't throw the ball that much. And the same with the Cowboys. Like he had a 25% target share in that game. They only threw the ball 30 times, and that's probably not going to change anytime soon.
It probably will this week if Patriots can jump up.
You would think.
You would think so, but that could be a really Tennessee loves a good grinder game.
Look,
if Gruden was still in the booth, everyone on Tennessee would be Gruden's grinder.
Tennessee leads the league in rush rate when trailing. They still run the ball 45% of the time when they're losing.
They don't even give it to Derrick Henry. 5 carries. Scored a touchdown.
As a Deion Lewis owner, I am okay with that.
He scored a touchdown on Monday night and still didn't score as many points as Rocket Richard did.
I know.
That's hilarious.
To go back to that game real quick, and you talk about it. I mean, Josh Gordon should go bananas again, especially if Malcolm Butler is going to be on him.
Oh, Malcolm Butler. 7 touchdown, Malcolm Butler.
Is it me or does Josh Gordon look really slow?
His hands look incredible.
No, but like even when he caught the touch, we got behind the D this week and ran to the end zone. Like it looked like he was trying to run at full speed.
He might just be out of shape.
It can go one of two ways. Like there are some people that look like they're moving really slowly, yet they're going really, really fast.
He's got the long legs. Yeah.
I do the opposite. I have little tiny legs, and it looks like I can run really fast, but I can't.
You're a slot receiver.
I have great fundamentals.
Yeah.
Great, and I was a high school quarterback. So there we go.
Hand-eye coordination.
The easy transition to the NFL. Being
you
a
are
receiver.
a gym rat.
That is true. I am a gym rat. I can memorize the playbook like no other.
For 1 week.
For 1 week. I'll memorize this week's game plan.
Yeah.
If you got audibles from like week 1, I'm done. I don't know what's going on. So guys I like that you can just kind of put in your lineup that are available. LaFell Sexwell is one you can play. Jermaine Kearse is the best of the Jets receivers, who I have ranked at number 49.
Well, yeah, it's still probably Quincy. With the propensity, because at least you know when Quincy's plays are being called, they're generally bubble screens.
Yes.
So at least
so
they're
he's
going to be
catch
complete.
It. I don't know. Sanchez can throw maybe he'll butt fumble it to him.
I mean, the Bills just cut their starting cornerback and are going to replace him with a practice squad guy.
And?
It's probably not that much of a difference, honestly. But still, this is the level of defense we're working with on the other side of Tre'Davious White.
Okay, I think Chad.
I'm going to Nunwa PPR, Robbie Anderson non-PPR, just from now on.
I don't know. I do not think you want to touch Robbie Anderson this week.
Not this week. I'm just saying in general, going forward, that's just how I'm going to play him because Robbie Anderson, you're going to miss the game. You're going to try and chase it. And if you either just start him in non-PPR and just kind of like hope that you get something. Same thing with the noon one. I'm just going to go with him in PPR because I just don't want anything to do with these Jets wide receivers.
If you need a home run, could you start John Ross?
Yeah.
That's a home run play.
So.
There is one that, I think you have way too low, actually.
Oh, who is it? Is it Maurice
Harris? It is Maurice Harris because, look,
he did it once. He did it once. He's had 5 weeks to do this. He did it once.
No. It's okay. First of all, so I can tell you, this is the inside information from doing that Washington Huddle show that I do here. This team has loved and been trying to find ways to get him used, and yet he did it 1 week, and you say he hasn't had a ton of opportunities and snaps. They're still going with Paul Richardson. They're still going with Josh Doxson. They're finally getting him. He was raw. They needed to develop him. He's starting to turn the corner. They love him. They want him to be the guy. He plays in the slot while Jamison Crowder's out, and Jamison Crowder's not coming back this week, which means more slot in a great matchup again. I'm not saying he's a must start. I'm just saying to have him ranked that low is way too low.
All right, where would you? I'll take your word on this. Where would you move him up to?
I would trust Maurice Harris more than I would trust David Moore.
Okay. I'll move him to number. I'll. You know what? I'll even do you.
I would
a
say
solid.
like Randall Cobb, DJ Moore territory. They're all very similar types of players.
Yeah, but what would you want in your lineup? And maybe this is a discussion.
Put him right behind DJ Moore at 46. I had a stupid Jordy Nelson.
Would you rather take the Maurice Harris perceived floor or just the shot that John Ross scores the 80-yard touchdown? I think it depends on what you want from your lineup.
I think it really depends, but I think that's probably the discussion you want to have.
I would rather gamble on John Ross, so I'll move him to one spot behind John Ross.
Why did you also make him like name brothers with Gruden? Why is he missing the H?
Who?
John Ross.
I don't know. It's because I think he was. I don't know why he's missing the H. I'll have to go add that after the fact. I purposely didn't update Chase Edmonds just to screw with you, Jake.
I know that's been infuriating.
Chad Williams, I think, is a potential sleeper. 0 floor. But if this is a game where Arizona's just going to be taking shots.
Sure. And part of this is how few plays they've run. But, like, there was a point, I think it was week 6 or 7, that Chad Williams was the least targeted receiver on a per route basis of any receiver in the NFL. Like, he's very, very far down. I would even say Ricky Seals-Jones is ahead of
Yeah, well,
Chad
I mean,
Williams.
there's a reason. There's a reason he's ranked number, what is he, 54
Sure,
in the rankings.
but I'm just saying, best case scenario, he's the 5th option in the passing game. Best case scenario.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Real quick to go back. I want to give you the rest of the information on that whole Redskins situation.
Yes.
This is the reports as of right now. If Crowder does come back, Doxson's the one losing the snaps.
But who's playing the outside without P Rich?
They would move Harris to the outside.
But like this week, if it's just Harris and Doxson active, who's the other receiver they're going to play?
With no Richardson?
Yeah.
It's what's his face? Brian Quick, I think.
You love.
I could be talked into that. All right, re-rank number 1, Brian Quick. So quick.
Best place.
He's really not quick at all.
Then again, all that talk about Doxson losing those snaps could have been before Paul Richardson hit the IR. So
Yeah, this is true. Tajah Sharp is one I would. He only had 1 target last night, which was kind of strange. But Tywan Taylor
he got hurt.
He'll be. It looks like he'll be back, but Taylor might be gone. So he's someone to keep an eye on. He was getting a reasonable mark, and it's against the Patriots. Like,
Sure, I would just say tying any sort of equity that's not Dion Lewis or Corey Davis. Tying any of that. Yeah, Johnny Smith. Luke Stalker was getting just as many targets.
Johnny Smith scored a touchdown.
That's true.
On a little pitch.
Sharp. I know this because people are going to be out there be like, "Hey, he played 53 snaps." But Sharp ended up being a decoy because he wasn't 100%. Not saying like Sharp should be a decoy. I'm just saying that he was just out there just to kind of keep people busy.
Okay, quarterbacks. Let's fly through this. I got Josh Allen is in. So that's great news. I just don't want to watch Nate Peterman again, to tell you the truth. So this is optimistic thinking.
It's actually kind of entertaining.
Ryan Tannehill as out. Mahomes number 1, Cam 2. Rodgers, Ryan, Rivers, Wilson, Luck, Breeze, Brady, Goff, Dalton, Ben, Smith, Bortles, Trubisky, Wentz, Fitzmagic, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, Josh Rosen. Last place. Not even worst place, just in the last place. Darn Sanchez. The Sanchez,
Carson
man.
Wentz is too low.
Carson Wentz is too low. I don't love
Especially if Sean Lee's out. Sean Lee is out this week already. This defense just falls apart without Sean Lee.
It just feels like this is going to be a grindy game.
NFC East battle?
Dallas is going to run the ball like 700 times. And
no, because they got Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I guess so. This feels like 21-10 to me.
No.
Okay. That's how it feels to me. That's why I ranked him low. And maybe I'm way off on it, but like Smith is in a better spot. Even with a bang.
He definitely is.
I just feel
but he's
like
still, even in a good matchup last week, still finished as QB 15.
We've seen Alex. Has Alex Smith had a top 10 QB finish so far this season?
Well, he doesn't need to. I'm at number 13.
I would guess no.
Fair, but I'm just saying, if you're looking to stream a quarterback, I would say that you're probably going to shoot for a little bit more upside than Alex Smith.
Like Baker?
Here's the thing. When you play hearts and you consistently try to shoot the moon, you end up losing.
I can neither confirm nor dispute that.
That is true.
I enjoy a lot. I enjoy a good game of hearts.
Now, are hearts and spades different vastly, or is
not
it the
vastly.
same game?
They all involve tricks.
Okay.
It's
pulling
similar.
tricks. I do like to pull a good trick.
If you really want to step it up, you play euchre.
Yeah, I'm not a big euchre guy. That's like
is that the one that has the board? Which one has the board?
You're thinking of Uno.
No, Uno.
Crib?
Uno has, crib. Maybe
you're
crib.
thinking of crib.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I listen.
Uno is just cards.
What? You said cards. You said.
And then you have one left, and you scream Uno, and your whole family laughs.
You know what? I did play at brunch a few Saturdays ago with my wife, because the place that we go, my wife.
There it is.
The place that we go to, it just has a bunch of board games, and she refuses to play Battleship against me anymore because I kicked the living crap out of her in Battleship. We started playing Pop-O-Matic Trouble.
Trouble's great.
I get too aggressive on my pops. I'm a lot stronger now than I was as a child.
Are you the one that like pops it and all the pieces fall off the board
I like to give it a bop.
Are you the same guy who spins the life wheel and it just goes flying off?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I just prefer Sorry. I haven't played Sorry in
Sorry's
probably
great.
20 years, but growing up, my mom really beat in an aspect of winning into me, I feel. That, losing is not, and like you should be shamed. You should be, losing's an option. but you should feel just massive shame if you do lose. So during Sorry, she got this bell that every time like you pulled the Sorry card, she'd ring it in your face. It's aggressive behavior.
Jeez.
My mom takes no
Shame.
prisoners. Yeah, she had the original
Yeah, the
shame,
shame
bell,
bell.
but she had the Sorry bell. All right, make a case for guys here if you want to.
I did.
I would.
Yeah, you want to move Wentz up? I mean, I can get behind that. Listen, if you have Wentz, you're probably playing him.
Look, it's all.
And if you don't like Baker in the last game of his 4-game amazing stretch against Atlanta, then you're never going to play Baker.
Yeah. Like I said, I would play Baker over Alex Smith.
Like Mariota's in a good spot against New England, but
No, don't. Just don't.
as you've pointed out, maybe the worst quarterback in the NFL.
It's one of very few predictions I've.
Would
been
you
right
rather
about.
have Marcus Mariota or Sanchez?
If I was
Mariota
starting a
can run.
team right now?
Yeah, if you're playing one this week.
Oh, if I was playing one this week. It's
Mariota.
Mariota, but
So can you guys help me workshop some trolls I can give to Cust about Sanchez? I have a theory that he's colorblind.
okay.
So colorblind is one for me that I'm going to use against him. Hopefully Tim doesn't watch the show and knows all my ammo coming out.
I don't think he does. Wouldn't have made it this far
His
anyway.
his therapy peacock wasn't allowed at the game,
Right.
and that really threw him off his game.
Right.
So peacock, and
But he'd be home this week.
he would be, so he would have it back.
He would
so
have the
maybe it would
peacock
be
back.
a little bit better. Jake, do you have anything I can throw shade at Sanchez with?
No. I'll think about something for you.
As my friend said, Jamie pointed out, he has the body of a fat man.
Does have pudge face.
Yeah, like he's gonna be a fat guy in 5 years.
Oh. What's that real fat quarterback?
The Pillsbury throw boy,
Yeah.
Jared Lorenzen.
Jared
Jared
Lorenzen.
Oh, the next Jared
So
Lorenzen.
next Jared Lorenzen. Lorenzen. Oh, we can come up with a good Pillsbury throw boy too, but something else for Sanchez. We'll brainstorm that for later on.
There's workshopping to be done.
I
I would have Ben over Dalton.
like this matchup.
Look, just as someone who has owned Andy Dalton for
Andy?
a large portion of this season, he's had fantastic matchup after fantastic matchup after fantastic matchup.
and provides mediocre results.
Look, he's good for 2 touchdowns, generally speaking.
That's pretty good.
That's fine, but just Ben at home.
Thursday night, short
I'm
week.
fine with a Thursday night
He
thing.
broke his shoulder and came back one play later.
He might
That's
be
because he
brain dead.
milks
Like,
it every damn time.
No, he only might retire 7 times next week, Jake. That's normal for quarterbacks to do.
Would you play Ben over Goff?
No.
Now,
I really want to rank Brady super low, but I can't because he's always good. That worries me, but this feels like a really bad matchup against Tennessee. I think Tennessee might win that game.
ooh, so they'd go 0 for 2 against former Patriot head coach.
It's just Tennessee. It would just watching them. I watch a weird amount of Titans games. They just seem like the most frustrating team to play in football. They're really slow. They have great fundamentals. Like it's Malcolm Butler's just really.
Oh, he's the worst part of that defense.
He's
Sure.
the weak link. Like everything else is super solid.
They've allowed 9 passing touchdowns this season.
They're a real
7 have
they're a
been
real
his fault.
average team across the board. So if like you're not good at something, they make you look really bad at it.
I could see it. I just you're starting Brady.
Yeah, that's the thing. So would you start Ben or Goff?
I'm gonna start Goff, but
Goff.
just as someone who owns Andy Dalton and is tepidly excited right now about this matchup, but then Sunday morning I'll remember like, yeah, he's just gonna throw 2 touchdowns. I'd rather have if I could have Ben instead of Andy, I would.
If you played in a 2-quarterback league, and let's say you had Deshaun Watson on bye, and the only quarterback you could pick up was Nate the Great Peterman, and it comes out that he is starting. Would you play Deshaun Watson on bye week or Nate Peterman?
Is it 2 QB or super flex?
2 QB.
Yeah,
I'd leave it empty.
Yeah, just play Deshaun on bye. Can't go negative that way.
To be fair, I think 2 of the 3 interceptions were deflected,
Okay, Tim.
but
Oh, here's another excuse I got for Sanchez this week. Woody Johnson is off serving his country as ambassador to the UK. Therefore, the entire team is in shambles because they have no leadership. So when Woody comes back, everything will be fine.
I thought it was just going to be the sun was really bright in Miami. He couldn't see.
Oh,
Gotta factor that in.
that's going on the list. You need shades. He needs to have stunner shades. Stunner.
got
Oh,
2
he's
minutes.
gotta have Tony
You got 2
Sperano
minutes?
shades.
All right. Very, very quickly here on tight ends.
You can do it without me.
Yeah, we'll let you go. You're going on Sirius right now with Bob Harris?
Sadly, I double booked myself.
All right, so top 10, Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle, Olsen, Howard, Njoku, Uzma, who I really like now that AJ Green's going to be out for a bit, Jimmy Graham, Trey Burton, Jack Doyle. Jared Cook has been ranked at number 11 by Fantasy Pros. Let's bring up the picture here, Paul. Look at this picture of Jared Cook. Yeah, there he is not catching. What a loser. Eric
One good
Ebron,
play Marcus Peters has made all season.
Eric Ebron, Evan Ingram, Gronk at 14. That assumes he plays. Can you play Gronk even if he plays, Jake? That'll be the last thing before we get out of here.
I think you can, depending on who your options are, but where I'd put him down by where exactly you have him. Everybody else in front of him, you just play if you have him. If you don't, then you play Gronk.
Any tight end that looks out of whack to you?
Not really. Honestly, I think your rankings are good. The only sleeper I was even thinking of is Ricky Seals-Jones given the matchup.
The best rankings at tight end. Best ever. He just wants to get out of here.
I do always enjoy the guy who wins Fantasy Pros top tight end ranker for the year.
Me.
Good for you.
I'm going to win this week. So that's tight end. Just start. There's like 10 good guys. Start your 10 good guys.
If you own a Colt, start him.
Any sleeper D you got, Jake? I like the Packers.
That's actually why a lot of people are asking why I have them as one of my top streaming defenses this week. And maybe because they're going to be passing a lot, the Dolphins, and plenty of turnovers coming.
Yeah, so I got Chicago, Green Bay, the Chiefs. I was going to say the Clippers. The Chargers, the Jets, the Rams, Detroit, Buffalo, New England, Indy, Pittsburgh, Philly, Cleveland, Dallas. Anyone you like there, Garion?
I'm just going to say Indy. I feel like we talk about Indy every single week, but, Jacksonville always has a high turnover potential.
Just stream against Bortles. Always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Check out the updated rankings up on DKPlaybook.com. And in the description of this video, please smash the like button before you get out of here. And if you leave your DK handle after smashing the like button in the comment section and the one ranking that triggered you the most, you're in the draw for 20 DK dollars announced on Monday's live show at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube channel. I will be back with Mr. Gary Thorne on Sunday morning.
As will Tim.
10 a.m. Eastern Time with Tim Andercust in studio. Sitting in between us, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be here.
We'll try to rig it.
We'll figure it out.
We can't go to the 2 because Jake's gone.
Yeah, he left.
He's just black unless Jake has turned into Zoom Tor 1. That's a pretty cool nickname for Jake. Zoom Tor 1. It sounds like someone from one of his fantasy comic books.
Maybe he'll read aloud once again.
He could be an anime. I don't know. Zoom Tor 1.
He could be an anime.
Yeah.
You like the anime?
What's the anime porn called?
Hentai, I believe.
It's real popular in Washington State, as I learned from Google searches.
Really?
Yeah. They release what's the most popular porn search.
Can you trust those though? Because anytime you get
I'm sure they're fake news. Who cares? They're fun to talk about.
But I just did you see the one that came up for Halloween? It's always what state, what your favorite candy is in the state. And none of them make any sense. There's no way that it wouldn't just be Reese's Cups in 47 of the 50 states.
Well, one of the states, I won't reveal which state, the most searched thing according to this, which probably means it's fake news, was hand job. Who is searching hand job?
Someone with real low expectations.
That's sad.
If you're
that is straight up sad.
Yeah. Oh, man.
They want to ease their way into porn, I guess.
They don't deserve the good porn.
It's just what's is that even
real
step one? Is that even entry as make out porn?
No,
first?
I feel like that's a real religious-based porn search.
Hand job?
You're just there's so much shame and guilt. You're just maybe just the hand job is all I deserve.
Hand job porn. That's what I'm searching. I'm going home. A looby hand job. Hand job. Quote KY end quote to make sure that really comes up. So it's a real sloppy one. They make them extra sloppy for you. Oh, what gets said on the show after Jake leaves?
Oh, he's probably pretty happy he was gone for that. Although he loves learning about pornography so much.
He did.
He loved it. Ah, well. We'll fill him in next week.
Jake, All In Kid on Twitter. His rankings are good.
I've heard that.
Unlike mine, which are bad. And also, like hand job porn searches, sad. He also has a podcast. I'm going to be appearing on it, I believe, next week.
There you go.
Once golf wraps up, I have more time to appear on other people's shows. But I'll be back tomorrow. You have a podcast.
Yeah.
6L.
It's about where I am with it.
All right. Perfect. But you can follow
I'd prefer you read my stuff on DK Playbook.
There you go. Or follow Garion at Garion Thorne on Twitter. You can follow me at the PME, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Get in the draw for the 20 TK bucks. And we are trying to get to 10 million downloads / listens for the 2018 year on the audio side. So even if you're watching the video, please go download, go subscribe, and please leave a review because that actually does go a long way to help boost it up the search rankings, which leads to more downloads, which would be fantastic. Thank you all for watching. Good luck in week 10. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!